Yeah, so good afternoon, all. I'll be presenting two abstracts presented in ASTRO 2019. So the first one is the recurrence and updated survival outcomes of the POTEC 3 trial, a very important landmark paper that came up in 2019. So for a background, most of the endometrial cancers fortunately present with early stage and favorable risk factors, though 15% of them have high risk features. And there is a lot of data to suggest that trials of chemotherapy alone versus radiation have not found any differences in progression-free survival or the overall survival, though we have schedules that seem to be promising from RTOG phase 2 data and the EORTC phase 3 trial suggesting a benefit in progression-free survival with sequential radio and chemotherapy. So there is always a dilemma of whether to add systemic therapy as an adjuvant therapy after surgery and radiation. So this was the trial designed for POTEC 3, where the patients were randomized to pelvic RT 48.6 gray in 5 weeks or pelvic RT with cisplatin concurrent 2 cycles, day 1, day 28, 50 mg per meter square, followed after 2 weeks with 4 cycles of Paclitaxel. So there was a uniform treatment that was given, upfront pathology review was done, and quality of life analysis was done. These were the patients that were taken stage 1, grade 3 with deep invasion, LVSI positive, stage 2 and 3, and stage 1 to 3 serous or clear cell cancers. There was no residual macroscopic tumor after surgery, and patients had a good performance status 0 to 2. The endpoints examined were overall survival and failure-free survival. Secondary endpoints were recurrences, vaginal, pelvic, and distant, and toxicity and quality of life. So the statistical analysis was done with an 80% power to detect a 10% overall survival and failure-free survival difference. Recruitment of 670 patients was done, and this was the consort diagram where there were 330 patients in the chemoradiation arm and 330 in the radiation arm, with the analysis being done as per intention to treat analysis. The follow-up was good, 72.6 months, almost 6 years, and these were the patient characteristics. The median age was 62 years. Most of the patients were grade 3, grade 1 to 2, and almost 1/3 of the patients had serous or clear cell histology. If you look at the stage-wise distribution, they were well balanced, though almost 50% of the patients were stage 3. So the treatment characteristics were well matched in both the groups, and almost 50% received a brachytherapy boost, and that was decided if there was a cervical involvement, either stromal or glandular. If you look at the compliance to chemotherapy, it was 92% for the concurrent arm and almost 80% in the adjuvant arm. So this was the overall survival and failure-free survival, which was statistically significant for both the groups. And if you look at it by stage, then we can see that it was more significant for stage 3 as compared to stage 1 and 2. If we look at the overall survival, that was also more significant for stage. I'm sorry for the slides changing. If you look at the serous cancers, it was also significant overall survival and failure-free survival. However, the first sites of recurrence in both the arms was distant recurrence, being 30% in the RT arm and 22%, slightly less in the chemo RT arm as expected, and this was statistically significant because most of the recurrences were systemic, so they were treated with chemotherapy. However, the median survival after recurrence was less, 1.4 years versus 1.1 years, not that great. So the events and survival by arm were such that most of the recurrences happened 80% of the recurrences happened in the first 2 years after randomization. And at 3 years, just 30% of them were surviving without recurrence. These were the characteristics of patients having a late recurrence or long-term survivors. They were mostly grade 1, 2. They received hormonal treatment. The first recurrence was with a limited disease load and an isolated lung or para-aortic lymph node metastasis. The adverse events, as expected, were more in the chemo RT arm, though they did tend to get better with time. The quality of life was also better in the radiotherapy alone arm, and it did not reach equality even at 2 years after treatment. Tingling and numbness, as expected, was more in the chemo RT arm, though with time it did get better. So there were two more important landmark papers published last year addressing similar group of patients. GOG 249 was the early stage high risk, and it showed that there was no difference in failure-free survival or overall survival with the addition of chemotherapy, though there was a difference in the pattern of recurrences. Patients who did not receive RT had more pelvic and para-aortic recurrences, so pelvic RT remained a standard of care. The second important paper was GOG 258, which took the advanced high-risk cases, stage 3, stage 4A, one group receiving POTEC 3 kind of treatment and the other receiving only systemic therapy. Again, no difference in failure-free or overall survival, but a definite difference in the recurrences, the vaginal, pelvic, para-aortic recurrences being more in patients who did not receive radiation. So all these papers, what we learned from them is stage 1, 2 with high-risk factors, the benefit with the addition of systemic therapy is not as much as to outweigh the toxicity that we gain with chemotherapy. For stage 3, yes, combined chemoradiation schedule does provide a significant overall and failure-free survival benefit. So to conclude, chemoradiation over RT for high-risk endometrial cancers does improve the overall survival and failure-free survival. It is more pronounced for stage 3 and serous cancers. Pelvic RT remains a standard for stage 1, 2 with high-risk factors, and distant metastasis is the first site of recurrence in majority of these patients.